on the beat.
Right, 8 August 2025, and I'm sorry that we had a break in our network just a few moments ago. So now I'm going to take you through the full judgment, not the summary that was read by the judge. So I'll take you through the full judgment so that you can understand what is happening and why the judges ruled in the way that they did. And then we're going to wait for tomorrow to see what happens, what documents are going to be filed today. Esther Lungu has failed to lodge the documents. So she was not able to lodge the documents or to get hold of the lawyers according to what is on the portal. So I now want to take you through the full judgment and the reasons given by the judges so that you can understand. So I'm going to read very quickly through these 15 pages. I'm not going to provide commentary. I'll just read you through the documents. So obviously, it is the Republic of Zambia that brought the case against Esther Lungu, Betha Lungu, Tasila Lungu, Daliso Lungu, Chieso Lungu, Charles Piri, Makebi Zulu, and Two Mountains Funeral Home. And this was in the Republic of South Africa in the High Court, Gauteng Division, case number 2025-096565. And the judgment has been delivered, and all 3 judges were unanimous. And the 9th respondent was the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. So you see that they have got all the respondents here, including the South Africans. They are still on the respondents. So there are 9 respondents on this particular case. This judgment was prepared and authored by the court whose names are reflected and is hereby handed down electronically by circulation to the parties. They are legally represented by email and by uploading it to the electronic file of this matter on case lines. The date for handing down this judgment is 8 August 2025. It was written by Luedaba, Mudau, and Potterill. So these are the acting judge presidents of the High Court of Pretoria in South Africa. So these are very senior judges. On 24 June 2025, the applicant, the government of Zambia, represented by the Attorney General, lodged this urgent application for an order inter alia, seeking that the 8th respondent, Two Mountains, the funeral parlor, be ordered to keep and preserve the body of the late President Lungu and not to remove or dispose of it in any manner pending finalization of the application seeking the repatriation of the body. The application was to be instituted on or before 22 July 2025. The funeral parlor did not partake in the proceedings. The 9th respondent, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, was joined and then removed, had notice of the application, but chose not to participate. Nothing turns thereon. On 25 June 2025, this court, Pelodaba JP, pursuant to an agreement by the parties, ordered that the funeral and burial of the late President Lungu be suspended pending the determination of the main application. The respondents opposed the main application, and for ease of reference for the first of 6 respondents are referred to as the family of the late President Lungu. The 7th respondent, Makebi Zulu, the late president's attorney, participated in negotiations between the government and the family, but did not partake in the proceedings before us. Despite the above order by the agreement between the parties, the government brought an ex parte application on 2 July 2025, seeking to vary the consent order granted by Redwawa. In ex parte application, the applicant alleged that the original order implicitly required the funeral parlor to continue caring for the late President Lungu's body indefinitely pending the hearing of this application. This application was granted. Bringing such an ex parte application is frowned upon by this court. In the amended notice of motion, the government sought a declaratory order that it is entitled to repatriate the late President Lungu's body for a state funeral and buried herefore in Embassy Park, Lusaka, Republic of Zambia. The funeral parlor is authorized and ordered upon demand by the sheriff of this court to surrender the body of the late President Lungu to a representative or representatives of the Zambia High Commission to enable the government to repatriate the body to Zambia for a state funeral and burial. The family is authorized to be present when repatriation is executed, and an aide-de-camp, the late president's personal physician, and 2 family members, subject to such restrictions the applicant may reasonably impose, accompanying the coffin containing the body of the late President Lungu during repatriation. Both parties filed applications to strike out certain phrases and or paragraphs of the affidavits, alleging that these allegations are vexatious, irrelevant, and scandalous or constituted hearsay evidence. Furthermore, the family filed an application for condonation for the late filing of a conditional counterclaim to declare an alleged agreement between the parties pertaining to the repatriation and burial void. If the court should find such agreement was reached, the government opposed this application for condonation. Joined the application, Mr. Vincent Kafula, a Zambian national currently residing in Cape Town, sought to intervene in these proceedings on allegation that he had a substantial interest in the upholding the Constitution of Zambia, international human rights law, and the affairs of Zambia. He contends inter alia that what Zambia requires at this critical juncture is national reconciliation and the rectification of unconstitutional laws that undermine democratic principles. Although this court may lack jurisdiction, it can issue a declaratory order to guide the Constitutional Court of Zambia in affirming and enforcing these necessary changes for public good. The test for joinder is whether the non-joined party has a direct and substantial interest, i.e. a legal interest in the subject matter of the litigation, which may be affected prejudicially by the judgment of the court. In that circumstance, it is necessary party and should accordingly be joined in such proceedings. Joinder ordinarily would occur to ensure that persons who have an interest in the subject matter of an existing dispute or have rights which may be affected by the judgment of the court in such a dispute are brought before the court. In argument, Mr. Kafula was constrained to consider that this court has no jurisdiction over Zambian courts and that the relief sought in that regard is incompetent. Mr. Kafula has thus had no direct and substantial interest in the relief sought. Furthermore, the question of joinder of Mr. Kafula on account of his Zambian nationality does not arise in this matter. This court dismissed the intervention application, but made no order as to costs. Common cause facts. The late President Lungu served as President of the Republic of Zambia from January 2015 until August 2021 as the leader of the political party in the Republic of Zambia called the Patriotic Front. The late President Lungu initially received the customary benefits accorded to according to former heads of state under the Zambian Benefits Former President Act 1993. On October 28, 2023, when he announced his return to active politics, his benefits were withdrawn according to Section 51B of the Act that provides as follows. The pensions and other benefits conferred by these acts shall not be paid, assigned, or provided to a former president who is B, engaged in active politics. The late President Lungu's access to state security, housing, transport, and medical support was terminated. The Benefits Act provides for pension and other benefits of former President of the Republic of Zambia. It also provides in Section 4(1)(b) set out in the schedule of the Act for payment of a former president's funeral expenses. The late President Lungu arrived in South Africa on 19 January 2025 for medical treatment. The president unfortunately passed away on 5 June 2025. It is common cause that as a Zambian citizen, Zambia was the late President Lungu's permanent place of residence. Following the announcement of the passing of the late president, the current president of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, on 6 June 2025, dispatched a delegation of senior government officials led by the Zambian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Haimbe, and international cooperation to engage the family and to discuss the logistics for the repatriation of the mortal remains of the late president to Zambia. Mr. Zulu acted as spokesperson for the family during these engagements. The delegation was informed inter alia that the family wanted to conduct a post-mortem on 9 June 2025 that was supposed to be undertaken by a private pathologist from abroad. In addition, that the family was looking at departing Johannesburg, South Africa for Lusaka, Zambia on 11 June 2025, aboard a private charter plane which the family had already arranged. Also, the family had planned to transport the body to Ndola, where the late president's home was born. Lungu was born. Kitwe, where he lived during his formative years, and Petauke, where he hailed from. This was intended to provide the opportunity to the late president's supporters and friends to pay their last respects before proceeding to Lusaka. In addition, that Zambians living in South Africa had also requested the family to allow for a memorial service in his honor, since most of them would not be able to travel to Zambia for the funeral, a request that had been considered. Minister Haimbe therefore conveyed to the family the applicant's envisaged logistical arrangement that the applicant had following the privileges due to a former head of state when they passed on, declared 7 days of national mourning beginning the date of his death. The applicant would provide a military aircraft to transport the late president's mortal remains and back to Zambia at the earliest possible date, preferably 7 or 8 June 2025. Arrange full military honors at send-off and arrival in Lusaka. The applicant committed to purchasing a lockable casket and to paying for all associated expenses relating to the funeral. It was conferred that a burial place would be prepared at Embassy Park, which is the designated burial site for all deceased Zambian presidents. The secretary to the Zambian cabinet issued a press statement on 7 June 2025, in which he informed the Zambian public inter alia that the president of Zambia was accorded a state funeral to the late President Lungu, whose body would arrive in Zambia on Wednesday, 11 June 2025. There were further meetings that followed. A second delegation to negotiate with the family was led by Honorable Enoki Kavindele, former Vice President of Zambia, accompanied by Mr. Leslie Mbula, former Secretary to the Cabinet, and former Zambian High Commissioner to South Africa. Also included was Mr. Patrick Kangwa, Secretary to the Cabinet, on 10 June 2025 at City Lodge Waterfalls. The delegation met with representatives of the family. Mr. Zulu again acted as the family spokesman. From this meeting, it was agreed that the family would purchase their preferred casket that was lockable. The family would use a chartered aircraft, while the government officials would use a Zambian Air Force aircraft that was on the ground for any eventualities. Annex FAA 7 sets out what the parties agreed. For convenience, it is reduced as is. Program for repatriation, funeral, and burial of the 6th Republican President Dr. Edgar Chagwai Lungu. Wednesday, 18th June 2025. Departure of body from funeral parlor to Lanzera Airport. Arrival of body at Lanzera Airport. Family and body depart Lanzera, a private charter. Arrival at Lusaka and receiving of body at KKIA by the family, military owners. Departure for the house in Chafengma, where the body will lie. Instead, Thursday, 19 June 2025, departure of body from funeral house in Chifengma to Mulungushi International Old Wing. Return and commemoration of body viewing from 9 to 1600. Return of body to Chifengma to lay instead. Friday, 20 June 2025, departure of body from funeral house in Chifengma to Mulungushi Conference Center Old Wing. Prayer and commencement of body viewing from 0900 to 1600. Return of the body to Chifengma to lie instead. Saturday, 20th June, departure of body from funeral home in Chifengma to Mulungushi International Conference Center Old Wing. Prayer and commencement of body viewing from 0900 to 1600. Return of body to lay instead. Saturday, 21 June, state funeral at Mulungushi Conference Center hosting foreign dignitaries. Monday, the 22nd, valedictory session at the Supreme Court, church service by Bishop Alec Banda at Showgrounds, burial, national mourning to be extended, the body to always lay in state at Chifengma, the body to always be accompanied by a relative, the ADC and the doctor. Parties will be consulted and agree on who speaks at all events. Honorable Given Lubinda to speak on behalf of the Patriotic Front party. Mr. Zulu, in a separate televised briefing, confirmed the agreement inter alia, firstly, that the body of the late President Lungu shall be transported together with the family from Lanzera Airport in South Africa to Zambia on Wednesday, 18 June 2025, using a private charter made available by well-wishers. Secondly, following the arrival and receipt of the body by family members in Lusaka, full military honors will be conducted at the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, after which the body shall be taken to the funeral house in Chifengma, where it will lie instead. Thirdly, that the body of the former president will be taken to Mulungushi International Conference Center on Thursday, 19 June, Friday, 20th June, and Saturday, 21st of June to enable members of the public to pay their last respects from 0900 to 1600, after which it shall be returned at all days to the funeral house in Chifengma to lie instead. In addition, to avoid the confusion that has been ongoing related to the PF party, the Honorable Given Lubinda will speak on behalf of the PF party. On the 18th June 2025, and shortly before the body of the late president was due to be transported to the Lanzera Airport for repatriation, the family informed that the body of the late president would not be arriving at Lanzera Airport and that the late president's body would remain at the mortuary, and that the family decided that the late president would be buried in South Africa in a private funeral. The issues to be decided. The main issue to decide is whether an agreement was reached pertaining to the repatriation and burial of the former late president. Furthermore, whether Zambian law or South African law is applicable, affording whom a right to burial. The government submission. On behalf of the government, it was argued that it accepted the family's proposal that was recorded on Annex FAA 7. This was further confirmed in the press briefing, despite the family now contending that the press statement was false because no agreement that the remains would be repatriated existed. Furthermore, in terms of the agreement, a tentative program was drawn up by the family, and that program reflected that the body of the late president would be repatriated to Zambia on a private charter plane on 18 June 2025 for the purposes of a state funeral and burial on 22 June 2025. This agreement was confirmed during a joint briefing of the government and the family at the Rivonia Southern Sun Hotel. It was argued that the family clearly agreed to the terms they set out, but had breached the agreement. The government contended that the domicile, habitual residence, and nationality of the late president and the family are connecting factors that would point to the Zambian law as the proper lex causa. Reliance was placed on the matter of Society of the Lloyd versus Price, Society of Lloyd versus Lee 2006-5 SA 393 SCA, wherein the SCA found that where there is a potential conflict between the two applicable systems of law, that the via media approach is the appropriate one in dealing with the kind of problem which we are now confronted. Not only does it take cognizance of both the lex fori and the lex case in characterizing the relevant legal rules, but it also enables the court, after this characterization has been made, to determine in a flexible and sensitive manner which legal sense system has the closest and most real connection to the dispute before it. Counsel for the government further pointed out, in terms of Zambian law, public policy requires that the wishes of the last president of his or her family yield before the requirements that deceased heads of state be afforded a state funeral and burial at Embassy Park. In selecting Zambian law as the lex causa, this court ensures that the Zambian legal principles are harmonized and that the policies underlying the relevant legal rules are respected and upheld. Further, in this regard, the court was referred to the case of the People versus Secretary of the Cabinet, ex parte Kaweche Kaunda, HP 76 of 2021, ZM HC 6, 7 July 2021. The Zambian court found that a state funeral is a public funeral ceremony observing the strict rule of protocol held to honor the people of national significance. In addition to that, even if it was a personal wish of the late president not to be accorded a state funeral, such a wish must be overridden by public interests. This decision, we find, is persuasive. The family submission. The family submitted that no agreement was reached. In the alternative, and if the court found that an agreement was concluded, the family elected to cancel the agreement based on what the family alleged were material fraudulent misrepresentations, alternatively negligent misrepresentation, further alternatively innocent misrepresentations. The misrepresentation relate to the family being adamant that the current president of Zambia was not to preside over the funeral. The family also contended that, following the principle of lex fori, it dictated that South African courts would apply South African law to disputes arising within its jurisdiction, regardless of the nationality or domicile of the parties involved. As this is the country where the late President Lungu passed away, the lex causa in this instance would be South African law. This court was referred to some judgments emanating from this court, such as Simakuhle versus Simakuhle and another Simakuhle, 2024 Z8GPPHC33 at paragraph 36, followed by Mashowana J in PN and others versus PN 104659-22 2024 Z8GPHC924 18 September 2024 as authority for the proposed approach, wherein Poko AJ stated, in my view, the first responded as the wife to be deceased has burial rights and may decide where a late husband should be buried. Reference was also made to TM versus CM and another 2019 ZAGPJHC 412, yet another unreported judgment by Adams J, in which the learned judge stated, weighing up several factors in this judgment, the learned judge found that the fairest order on the facts of that case was that the surviving spouse should be allowed to bury the deceased in the support of the family's argument. Reason for decision. It is well established in our law that the correct judicial approach to the interpretation of written documents is that the inevitable point of departure is the language of the document itself. Words must be given their ordinary grammatical meaning unless to do so would result in absurdity. A written agreement between the parties must be read as a whole to determine the true intention of the parties. If regarded it has to the grammar or syntax of FAA 7, the purpose for which it was drawn up, considering that both parties were alive to the disputes between them, FAA 7 can only be interpreted as an agreement between the parties. The agreement entailing first and foremost repatriation to Zambia for burial purpose, based upon the chronology of common cause of facts, referring to the media briefing and the proposed program drafted by the family, fortifies this finding. There is thus no factual dispute between the courts. The legal principle of pacta stant servanda, agreements must be kept, also finds application. On the issue of whether Zambian or South African law is applicable, we took into account the decision of Society of Lloyd Supra. One has to determine a flexible and sensitive manner in which legal settlement to be closest and most real connection to the dispute. The domicile, habitual residence, and nationality of the late president and the family are connecting factors and would point to Zambian law as proper lex causa. As counsel for the government pointed out, in terms of Zambian law, public policy required that the wishes of the late president or his or her family should yield before the requirements that deceased heads of state be afforded a state funeral and burial at Embassy Park. In selecting Zambian law as the lex causa, this court ensures that the Zambian legal principles are harmonized and that the policies underlying the relevant legal rule are respected and upheld. Further, in this regard, the court was referred to the cause of people of that court said. I think there's a repetition here. In addition to that, even if it was a personal wish of the late president, so I think this page has been repeated. That's page 11. The agreement leaves no room for doubting that the current president of Zambia would be involved in receiving foreign dignitaries as head of state of the host country. Details as to who else was to speak other than the leader of the opposition party that the deceased belonged to are trivial. The late President Lungu, like any other president in established democracies around the world, deserved to be buried with the necessary dignity. This court cannot bar a president of another country to attend a state funeral. Stripped of emotive language and political posturing in the papers, the order that followed is intended to achieve that purpose. It follows that the family's counter application is meritorious and must be dismissed. As for the striking out applications by both parties, this court did not take cognizance of any vexatious, irrelevant, or scandalous averments by any party. In coming to this decision, neither party has suffered any prejudice, and both applicants are dismissed as no orders to cause. Despite the lateness and the paucity of the reasons given for the condemnation application for the late filing of the counter application, this court considered the averments misrepresentations and find no substance in these allegations. Costs. The court has a discretion when awarding costs and must exercise its discretion judicially. An order of costs must be made upon a consideration of the facts in this matter, and the decision thereon is made considering the fairness to both parties. In this matter, it is only fair and just that no order to costs should be made. The effect of this order is that each party has to pay its costs. Order. The intervention application is dismissed, no order to costs. The application to strike out are dismissed, no order to costs. The application for condonation and the counter application are dismissed, no order to costs. In order that the applicant is entitled to repatriate the body of the late President Lungu for a state funeral and burial in Embassy Park, Lusaka, Republic of Zambia. The eighth respondent is authorized in order to, upon receipt of the court order by the sheriff of this honorable court, to immediately surrender the body of the late President Lungu to a representative or representative of the Zambian High Commission to enable the applicant to repatriate the body to Zambia for purposes stated in paragraph 4 above. The first to second to seventh respondent are authorized to be present when paragraphs 4 and 5 of this order are executed, and an aide de camp of the late president's physician and the two family members may accompany the coffin containing the body of the late President Lungu during the repatriation. There is no ordered cost which include reserved costs. So this is the full reasons. You saw that the judge didn't read the reasons, he read the summary. So let's go to 4 and 5. It is ordered that the applicant is entitled to repatriate the body of the late President Lungu for a state funeral and burial thereafter in Embassy Park, Lusaka, Republic of Zambia. The eighth respondent is authorized and ordered upon service of the court order by the sheriff of this honorable court to immediately surrender the body of the late Lungu to a representative or representative of the Zambia High Commission to enable the applicant to repatriate the body to Zambia for the purposes stated in paragraph 4 above. So this is very contentious. This is where there was contention. Remember, the Lungu family wanted to take the body into a plane. So I want us to go into what they wanted to do. They didn't want Zambian officials to touch the body. They wanted to take the body themselves, and at no point was the body to be in the custody of Zambian officials. What the judgment has done is that the body is now going to be in the custody of the officials of Zambia, the embassy. So the embassy officials are now in charge of the body of Edgar Lungu. That is, as long as there's no judgment which says otherwise, even on appeal, the authority over the body as things stand right now is with the Zambian government. So there is no point at which the Zambian officials cannot go to the funeral parlor and say, we want to see the body. So that story of we want to inspect the body is now no longer an issue. The Zambian embassy can now go at any moment and just say, we want to see the body. So upon service of the court order by the sheriff of this honorable court to immediately surrender the body of the late President Lungu to a representative of the Zambia High Commission. What this means is that the Zambia High Commission can now move the body from that funeral parlor to another, or at any point that they feel, they can say, we are now moving the body. It's now up to them. It's no longer up to the family of Lungu. Esther Lungu no longer has custody over the body. However, if you look at 6 and 7, the 1st to 7th respondents are authorized to be present when paragraph 4 and 5 of the order are executed. And an aide de camp of the late president's physician and 2 family members may accompany the coffin containing the body during repatriation. So they no longer have to be there. So Zambia can now move the body without the Lungu family. If you look at paragraph 6, only a physician and 2 family members are required if they want. If they don't want, they cannot be there. And then there is an aide de camp. I don't know if they've got someone who was assisting Lungu who is needed there or who is required here. So this is the full judgment. How many minutes have we got? I'm not seeing my minutes. 32 minutes. I think that is sufficient. We've covered the full judgment as it is written. Remember what I said. There is a leave to appeal. They've written a letter called a leave to appeal, and they've filed that document. However, that document is not an appeal. So at the moment, the appeal is not yet there. There is a leave to appeal. What I would suggest to the Zambian people, especially the parties in this dispute, is to get this thing out of the South African judicial system. So, according to Kafula's suggestion, they would then move the body to Zambia and have an argument over burial at a court in Zambia. So instead of appealing in South Africa, it would be better to let the body go to Zambia and then deal with the other matters in Zambia, but they will lose because you saw what happened to Kaunda. The Kaunda case is cited here. And it's going to be very difficult to say, don't bury him at Embassy Park. It's going to be very difficult to convince another court on this matter. I see this as a very important judgment, and someone needs to advise the Lungu family to negotiate. That is what I think. Someone needs to advise the Lungu family to negotiate with the government. And the government also has made concessions. You can see that there's no mention of concession in this judgment. There are many concessions made by the government of Zambia. During the argument, I was there myself. Some of it was that the benefits of Lungu will be restored, his salary will be paid, Esther will get a salary, will get a car, court cases will go away. All that is not here. That's because the South African court cannot make certain rules in Zambia. They can only make rules here. So if a higher court was to say, you can now make rules for Zambia if you're in South Africa, because that is what they're seeking. The judge here said, let's use South African Zambian law so that in future, there is no disagreement between judgments. So a judgment was made in South Africa, it says something else. A judgment was made in Zambia, it says something else. So the judges here wanted to align the judgments so that in future, there's only one approach for presidents. So according to all the judgments that have ever been there, a Zambian president will be buried at Embassy Park, without a doubt. That's what it is. And they've made it in such a way that that doesn't change. And what the Lungu family wants to do is say, no, that's not correct. A Zambian president, once they cross the border, the rules change. They are now not under the rules of Zambia, but under the rules of another country. So you can see how difficult this is going to be. It's currently at the High Court, which means it's going to go to a higher court, which is the Supreme Court of Appeal. It's going to go to a higher court and higher court. And how long does it take to bury someone? If you keep going to court, it will take longer and longer. And I think for the Lungu family, it's also a stress to be in that situation. So I would actually like to ask them to consider negotiating. And also, now we talk of mediation. The leaders of SADC now need to come in and intervene. This situation cannot be allowed to continue. Where a president of a country is not buried 2 months going, 3 months, it can go for months and months. So that is also not an honor to the late Edgar Lungu to stay so long without being buried as a dispute rages, where a judgment has already been made that he must be taken home. So I think the SADC leaders now need to intervene, and someone needs to do a mediation. But that should all happen on significant differences. There's no significant difference in this thing. I don't see what is the big difference between the parties. They all want the body to go to Zambia. The difference is how it is handled. So to satisfy both parties, we now need to move from a legal perspective to go to some sort of a negotiation. That would be a better approach than to fight it out in the courts. All right. At least Mama have given us data, kindly update us more on this matter, where Lubinda will sleep and Masebi Zulu. They have appealed currently correct. No, they didn't appeal. I just explained. So let me show you what they've done. So don't be lied to. I've got the papers. Remember, I talked to the people in the court. So let me show you what they've done. They have not appealed. They have done what you call, they filed a leave to appeal. So let me show you what they filed. Again, I've done a video on this earlier. So a leave to appeal is not an appeal. And it's important for people to negotiate. It's important for people to negotiate because if you keep fighting, everyone loses. No one wins. There is no end to this thing without negotiating. You have to negotiate. You have to be willing to and open to talk. If you just fight, you are fighting over a corpse. Basically, I want to say it in a very difficult way, but that is how it is. So let me show you the document that they filed. So apologies, I'm just looking for the document here. Let's stop this one and let's share a new document. So I've got all the documents. They've not yet appealed. They've just given a leave to appeal. So that what they failed is this thing. It's called a proof of service, but they failed to talk to the other parties. So they actually have to go and give reasons why they're appealing. You see, they can't just appeal without giving reasons. So this is what they've done. It's an email. This one here. You see this email here? We refer to the above matter and then close here with the respondent's application for the leave to appeal. So the court on Friday closes early. So they've put a respondent's application for leave to appeal. It can be denied. So the actual leave to appeal can be denied by the judges. It's possible if they don't find any merit in it. So remember where we are now. The judge can just say, what are your reasons for appealing? and you say, I don't know what you say, but remember this, the same judges are going to rule, and it was unanimous. So the same judges will hear it and they'll tell you no. But I don't believe that just a no is enough. We need to negotiate. We need an agreement. It is for the good of the whole region, for the presidents to be buried properly. In Zimbabwe, we have a similar situation. President Mugabe was not buried at Heroes Acre. The wife of President Mugabe, Grace Mugabe, refused to release the body to the current president, Mnangagwa. I don't know if you guys in Zambia know this. Mugabe is buried at his house in Zwimba, inside the house. Not outside, inside the house. They dug a grave there and buried him because the wife, she said she doesn't want him to be touched by Mnangagwa. So what you need to understand is this is not new. It's only that Mnangagwa did not pursue it. He did not go to court. He did not say, give me the body. He just left it. But eventually, they are going to exhume Mugabe and put him at National Heroes Acre. It's not possible for you to be president and to be put there by yourself because you were unhappy on the day when you were removed or on the day you died. So all presidents must be buried in one place so that people historically can go and say, this is our president, we voted for him, he was a president. So when you become a president, you are no longer an ordinary person, you are a person of the people. You are a national asset. So when Mnangagwa dies, we're not going to say, Mnangagwa doesn't want to be buried in National Heroes Acre. Let's bury him somewhere else. It's chaos to the country. We need these people to understand. The women or the wives, they must understand that their husbands are national assets. They are not individuals. So it's clear. I hope that it's clear what I've said here about the president of Zimbabwe, Mugabe, and the president of Zambia, Lungu. Their burials have been disputed, both of them. And Mugabe eventually got buried at his home in Zwimba. He's living, his body is in the center of his home. Right now, as you speak, only his children has access to his grave. There is no Zimbabwean who has ever been to the grave of Mugabe because it's inside a house. You understand what I'm saying? It's like Ginimbi. Ginimbi is buried in his own house, inside the house. So I'd like to thank all of you for watching. So Emmanuel Mamba is cheating people that the appeal was successful. It's not true. It's not true, Andrew. I showed you just now. They were not able to contact the other parties. They did what is called a leave to appeal. And that appeal, and I have explained already, it can be denied by the judges. The judges have not even seen it yet. The other lawyers have not seen it yet. Okay, that is correct, Michael. It's Lungu himself that said the president. So I would like to thank all of you for watching. I need to go and take a break. I've been working on the Zambian issue so much. And I will need to go back to my own issues that we need to address tonight. So I'd like to thank all of you for watching. And tomorrow we're going to continue. As soon as there's a new development in the case, the file is updated. So I'll be telling you guys what's in the file as it gets updated. So don't be worried that you won't get any information. And we'll also be talking to the court. So the courts in South Africa are like executive offices. You can go there and talk to the secretary because this is a judge president. He's got a secretary. You can email the secretary and she will reply. They are very professional courts here in South Africa. And information is not hidden. There's a system where they load everything. So once they load the appeal, I'm going to read for you the grounds of the appeal. What is the grounds of the appeal by the people on the Lungu side, and what do they want to be done? Remember, the grounds have not been established as yet. So I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and a good evening to you all.